Hey parents and coaches, are your kids using the right glove? The most important skill for youth athletes to learn is how to play proper catch. The problem is, most youth gloves are made with bad leather and are too big for small hands. They actually make it harder to play catch. That's why former Major League Baseball shortstop Kevin Smith created Cali gloves. Cali gloves are crafted from 100% Japanese kip leather and are the perfect size for kids. All Cali gloves come with palm slits, finger loops, and elastic wrist lacing that encourage proper hand placement, the right closing patterns, and give kids more confidence to go make plays. Cali gloves even allow parents to break in the glove without stretching out the fit. It's the glove Kevin wishes he had growing up, and the glove all his teammates want for their kids. Visit caligloves.com to learn more and help your kids play better catch. That's Cali Gloves, Kali gloves.com. Welcome to this week's edition of Dugout Dish Podcast. I am your host tonight, Keith Glasser. I will not be joined by the handsome Andy Kirikides as he is out watching games. However, we do have a phenomenal guest that I've known for a very long time. Excited to have him on. But tonight's guest has spent a decade building one of the most dominant programs in Division III baseball as the associate head coach at Denison University. Ryne Romick has helped the Big Red win 5 straight conference titles. We've reached the NCAA World Series, develop All-Americans year after year. This year, we have he has the Big Red poised as the top pitching staff in Division III with the lowest ERA. We'll see how it shakes out, but I have confidence in you. But super excited to have you on tonight. I'm glad that you said yes to come talk baseball with us. But Ryne, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. Known you for a while. Always enjoyed talking to you. So looking forward to talking again.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to talk shop all night long, which is what I think the two of us really enjoy doing. But before we get going, if you could just give the listeners a quick rundown of how you got to Denison for your second stint.
Yeah. Honestly, the first time I got there, I was a GA at a small D2 school in West Virginia. I've known Coach Deegan for a while and worked some camps for him. And I was basically just begging him for a job and was coaching summer ball in New England, in New Bedford, Mass. He called me and said, "Hey, got the Denison job. You want to come?" And I said, "Sure." And he goes, "You know where it is?" And I said, "No idea." He's like, "It's in Ohio." And I said, "I've lived in Ohio my whole life. I still have no idea where that is." So that started in 2012. Worked for it for 2 years. We did well, just trying to, that was his first head coaching gig. My first time being a full-time assistant. So we were kind of learning together and trying to figure it out. We were trying to change the culture and kind of clean up the program. And, I got the Dayton pitching job from there. I went there, was a pitching coach and recruiting coordinator for 3 years. Then went to Ohio University for a year. Got married. My wife worked in Columbus. It made more sense for us to be closer to Columbus. And his assistant left and went to Davidson. Now works for the Guardians. Great coach. And got my old job back and been there ever since. So that's kind of how the roundabout happened for Denison.
Coach Deegan's one of the best ones out there, in my personal opinion. He was always great to me on the road when I was a young coach, and he was even, he was a great guy even when I became a head coach. So, and what he's done at Denison and what you guys have been able to accomplish, and with Link before that, I think that he's one of the best out there. If you don't follow Denison or you haven't seen, he posts actually a lot. I think he still does post a lot of stuff on Twitter that's actually worth your time in reading. He does a great job of actually coaching the coaches and coaching the players. And I think that a lot of the stuff he puts out, he reminds me a lot of the guy I coached for at Siena, Coach Rossi. Somebody who's like legitimately invested in the players and the coaches and the people around him to elevate them and make them better. Which I always thought was, I think is something that is dying in our game, unfortunately. But, I think it's when you see it, you know what it is. And I think he's one of the really good ones in this game. And I so happy that you guys have been as successful as you've been over the last couple of years.
Yeah, he's it's such a systematic approach to what goes on. So nothing happens by chance, and he's one of those guys. It's not lucky that things happen, and of course, the game of baseball involves a little bit of bounces and luck. But as far as like how we go about our business, and that's why I think there's a sustained level of like solid play. And whether or not you win a ton of games or win more than you should or whatever, but he's very systems approached. He's very about the people and the culture and the way we do things and how we move and shake. And that goes from the coaches to the manager to the trainer to the strength coach. It's everybody involved. So it's not surprising that that we've moved in a positive direction, I think. But it takes a lot to like win a lot of games and things to happen the way they do. But he's one of the best humans in the game of baseball that I've run into, for sure. And so awesome to call him a friend, and it's been great to work for him.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things in this game. Like, I don't know that you can find somebody who has a negative thing to say about him.
Yeah.
That's hard to do in this game.
It's
like there's generally going to be someone who's like, I don't know about that guy. Like, there's few of them in this game, and he's one of them where like you're not going to find a lot of dudes that are going to be like, yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So to kick this off, we always ask everyone, how do you guys go about finding players at Denison?
Yeah, I think it's evolved for sure. Just as we've gotten better and gotten a little bit more notoriety. I think when we first started, it was the mass email, throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks kind of deal. But as we've gotten better, and now Deeks has this long track record of being at Denison and is that same guy, has a ton of relationships. Now I've, was there and then it came back. So those relationships now for, 10 or 12 years or whatever, it's a lot of relationships. And that doesn't just mean like, Keith sends me a text and says, I have a guy. Those things do happen for sure. But even like relationships with facilities, relationships with summer ball coaches, relationships with recruiting services, because it matters. They know it matters to us, like who we get, not like what we get. So now those relationships have helped because now we, it's not hard to find a talented pitcher. It's not hard to find a talented hitter. It's not. But finding the people that fit in what you're looking for in the program and being the right dudes, that's tough. And so you have to sort through some guys to find those guys. And so those relationships matter a ton because now you can rely on people that you trust to say, hey, this is a good kid from a good family. He's going to fit. Because you know how it goes. You coached a long time. It's like there's struggles. Like even when you get a good kid, there's still struggles. And so you need someone who's invested in and able to work through a struggle, able to work through an injury, able to work through not playing when you're a good player. If you're at a good program, sometimes you can be good and not play. And so finding the right kids that are looking for the experience that we're able to offer, I think is vitally important. So the relationships piece has gone through the roof. Obviously there's the academic showcase events, which are important, because it's way better for us as a small school to spend money going to a place where we know what we're recruiting. Going out to just watch a Legion baseball game, which I played growing up, doesn't do us any good. There's maybe one guy on the field that you can recruit. So that doesn't really work. You still go to summer tournaments and especially now that we have some really good facilities in Central Ohio and then in Indianapolis, there's a lot of like Virginia teams and DC teams that will come there. There's a lot of Philly teams and New York teams that'll come over and play. So you can see teams from outside the area. That still matters, but I would say it's way less of like going out and watching random tournament games as what it used to be. It's way more relationship based. You kind of know where you're looking in the pockets you're looking in, and you try to rely on good people in those areas to help you because your recruiting budget's not $1 million. You can't just fly around and drive around and shoot from the hip. Yeah,
I think that's the one. I mean, you hit on a couple things, but I think a lot of people don't really understand when you go through the recruiting process as a student athlete, what the recruiting budget is at every school, right? Like, I think a lot of people view it through the lens of like the power fours of like, well, if you're good enough, they'll find you. Like, yeah, I mean, they can fly over the country and do whatever they want to do. Like, my $7,000 recruiting budget isn't really going to get me all the way down to Texas 15 times to see you throw.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen. And, you have to strike that balance of being able to get in front of the coaches that you want to be in front of. However, that is possible, whether it's going to be their camps, the academic showcase camps, or tournaments that your team are going to be with. But being able to get in front of them and be able to be seen by them. And I think you're 1,000,000,000% right that the talent aspect of it is rather easy to evaluate from a recruiting perspective. And it's not, I think it's kind of always been that way, right? Like, you do this long enough, being able to find guys that can play for you, I think from a talent perspective, I think is relatively easy. The super hard part is figuring out whether or not that kid fits into your program and what it is that you're building or trying to sustain with where you're at. And that's where, a lot of people kind of get jammed up. And I think, the older you get, and, you become a father like we both are, and you work for a guy like Deegs, like you start to really understand what works for you as well from a coaching perspective. And I think that, it took me a little bit of time when I became a head coach. I think it's a little bit easier as an assistant because you can just kind of, be the assistant. Like, the wins and losses don't go on my record. And if they're mad at, head coach, they're not mad at me, like, type thing. Right. And if you become a head coach, it becomes a little bit different where, like, the wins and losses are on you and like everything runs through you. You have to start to figure out like what type of player actually works for you. Yeah. And, like, you might pass on some kids, like, and it might not be a character issue, right? Like, great kid, great family, but you meet with them, you talk with them, you do everything. And it's like, gosh, I don't know if he's going to fit in here with us. And I don't know if he's going to fit in with me. And we spend a lot of time together. And that could be a reason you move on. And it's not a negative. I think some people view it as a negative all the time. It's like, hey, man, like, it's not a negative because it probably wasn't going to work out there in the long run, right? Like, you have a probably 1 in 100% chance of being there for 4 years and having the student athlete experience it is that you're looking for, because you just don't mesh personally. And that's okay. You're going to find the right fit somewhere else.
Yeah.
But that character piece is so tough to parse out just by watching somebody play, right? Like, I think that's something like, we talk to our people all the time, and we talk about it on this podcast. A lot of the times when I was coaching, like, unless I was working at camp, I never wore anything RPI or Siena or West Alabama because I wanted to show up and like make sure that you were the person that you were going to be if you didn't think I was there. I wouldn't even tell people I was going. Yeah, like, I would just show up and watch because I want to know, right? Like, if I tell you I'm coming, you're going to be on your best behavior.
Yeah.
I want to know, are you going to argue with the umpire about a called third strike and get thrown out of the game? Or like, is that just not part of what you know what I mean? Like, those types of things I kind of want to figure out because that might not work in my program for what it is that I'm looking to do.
Yeah, I think the fit thing is, you're 100% right. It's if you could get, and this is never going to happen, but if you could get high school players to go into a recruiting like their cycle just looking for the right fit and not into like a sales mode, they would be way better off. They'd be way better off, and they would probably be surprised at what they find is the right fit for them. And that's, obviously baseball wise, if they're a baseball player, but like from culture to social at the school to financially, like all of it, they'll have a better experience. And so we always tell people we're just looking for good fits, and not necessarily that means the best player. And, we actually had a great example of this. We had a kid come to camp, middle infielder come to camp. And we offered him after the camp. He had a terrible camp. Like, he didn't hit, he didn't, whatever. but we had seen him for a while, and we just liked the way he moved around. We liked his personality. We liked the way he played the game. We liked the way he did things, and we liked him in between innings. We liked all the little things he did right, and he was always in the right spot. He was always talking and those sorts of things. And then we offer him, and the dad just says, the other shortstop at camp was way better than him. Like, what are you doing? And we were like, we just like that this was our guy. Like, yeah, sure, the other kid had 2 hits and whatever, but it was like, no, we think this is a great fit. And so I think the longer you do it, like you said, you want to be around people you enjoy. Number one, like if I'm going to leave the house and spend long hours with these guys, I don't want to be around people that are making me miserable. So yeah, I think that the fit thing is 100% probably the biggest miss by a lot of people when they go through this recruiting process. They start looking at shiny things. They start looking at like notoriety and what's cool to post on the internet, or what's going to be fun for their family, friends to hear about. But it's like, this is a real experience. You're going to grow up wherever you go. Like, you're going to turn into a man wherever you end up. So find the right place that's a good fit, and you're going to be able to do that, not comfortably, but do it to the best of your ability there.
I think it's such a dichotomy, right? Like, you mentioned the salesy pitch.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, when we're recruiting, like, we are generally being salesy. Like, we're trying to, if we really like the kid, like, we're trying to convince the kid that we want him to come be a part of our program because we think it's going to be a good fit. And I think there's such a dichotomy around it, because you're going to get to campus and it's likely going to feel, not saying it's different, it's going to feel a little bit different when you get to campus than what it was in the recruiting process. Because now you are going to be asked to actually do a lot of the things it is that we talked about in the recruiting process. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. You're going to have early mornings. You're going to have your struggles. You might struggle academically. You might struggle on the baseball field. There's going to be a lot of things that happen. And I think sometimes kids look at it of like, this isn't what I was told. Well, like, yeah, we told you were going to struggle. We told you this was going to be hard. Like,
I don't mean to cut you off. I would say, I think you would be wildly surprised at one of our recruiting visits, because it's the complete opposite.
Okay.
And so what I'll tell you is, people hear all the time on our recruiting visits, and Deegs always laughs about this, but it's very true. They couldn't hear more that if your goal is to play, if that's one of the things that are on the tip of your tongue, that you say, where you want to go, and you say, I want to play. He goes, don't come here, because you're not going to play. It's not going to happen. Like, you're not going to come here and play. And it's going to be extremely difficult. And you're probably going to call home in the first 2 weeks, and you're going to say, I don't think this is right. Like, that's our recruiting visits, 90% of the time. And so we try to front load it as much as possible. This is going to feel tough. You're going to get drove in the ground, not in a mean way or anything, but baseball's tough, school's tough, social is tough. Everything's tough. Like, you're trying to grow up, and you're going to realize, like, guys are physically fit. Guys are bigger. They're stronger. They're faster. They know more about the game. They know how to win better. Like, it's really tough. And so I think I would say people are probably more surprised than not on our recruiting visits that it seems to be more negative than salesy. And we always say our sell is there is no sell. We're not going to sell you one iota. You come here, it's going to be an awesome experience. You have a chance to win championships, but it is miserably tough. Like, the hours are long. You're not going to get gifted anything by professors because you're not there and we're on the road traveling and baseball's tough. You're not going to get any of that treatment. It's just tough. And if you want to check the box and like sign up for that, those are the guys that we want. Those are the guys that we want. So hopefully I don't think anybody's really surprised at it, because they just get beat in the head with it on a recruiting visit. Because that's probably the one like strange difference is that I've sat there on visits and I know like you being like an assistant for a while, you'll bring in some guy and you're like, this is a dude. Like we got to have this guy. And then Deke sits in front of him and goes, you're not going to play when you come here. This is not going to happen. And the kid is like, and I'm like, shut up. He's really good. So that happens quite a bit, honestly.
If you're the parent of a high school baseball player with college aspirations, you already know the recruiting process can feel overwhelming. Endless showcases, nonstop emails, and big promises with very little clarity. That's why we recommend Diamond College Showcase Camps, the nation's premier academic baseball showcase. At Diamond College Showcases, every college coach in attendance is there with a purpose: to coach, instruct, evaluate, and recruit. Every player is seen, every player is engaged, and every family leaves with a clear understanding of where they truly stand. This is not a mass camp. College coaches run the drills, evaluate every athlete, and provide honest professional feedback that you can trust. Diamond College Showcase camps are built for serious student athletes who value both baseball and academics. If you're looking for transparency, clarity, and a recruiting experience that respects your time and your player's future, Diamond College Showcase is the place to be. To learn more, visit diamondcollegeshowcase.com. No, but I think that I think nowadays it's probably becoming a little bit more of the norm, if you want my honest answer.
Yeah.
Like I think some of the, guys like him, and I think some of the younger coaches that are out there that are in head jobs, I think for the most part are, I don't want to say, like, you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And it sounds terrible to say, but the reality is that it's really, really hard to step foot on campus as a freshman and find success immediately in the fall. Not saying that you're not going to find success over the course of the fall and in the winter and then, ultimately in the spring. But like, it's hard for all the things you just said. And I would have conversations with families in my office when they were thinking about RPI, and I'm like, listen, you're going to get your ass kicked in the classroom. Like, there's no bones about it. You're going to get your ass kicked there. I need you to love baseball and working hard so much that you want to show up and do the same thing, if not more, on the baseball field and in the weight room. Sure. Because that's what I'm going to be asking you to do. And it wasn't because I didn't want, I wanted you to know up front what this was, but also if you're going to shy away from that, to your guys' point, like it's probably not a guy that's going to end up working out well in my program anyways.
That's right.
And I think that there's there's a fine line I think you walk as coaches where like you're not, I would consider myself to be somewhat of a player's coach, but like I had high demands of like, this is what we're going to be doing day in and day out. And this is how we do things here. And these have to be met if we're going to succeed. And I think when you have to hold that standard to yourself and to your teammates, it becomes a little bit more difficult for younger kids. And that's where some of that self-doubt and some of that, what am I doing here? This is not high school baseball. Like, no, it's not. Like, one of my favorite parts of the fall is when you have one of your freshman arms on the bump who thinks he's really good, and he throws his fastball over the middle of the plate and he just gets absolutely mollywopped for a home run. You're like, welcome to college, bub. We got to figure out how to pitch both sides of the plate here, because can't leave that out over the middle against college guys. It's going to get hit. Yeah. And being able to have those teaching moments and getting guys, like we had a guy, he ended up being, I believe he ended up being an All-American after I left. He was definitely an all-region guy. Ryan, he didn't have a hit the entire fall. Not one. Not in inter squads, not in coach pitch, not in anything. Didn't have one hit. And one of our captains came over and he was like, why are you not changing him? And I said to him, I said, he needs to fail and decide that he needs to make the adjustments on his own. Because if I just tell him right away, he's going to be, and it doesn't work, it's going to be like, what does this guy know? I'm not going to listen to him. Like, sometimes you're going to have to fail on your own to be like, and then he came in the fall, was like, I need to make some serious adjustments. Like, yeah, you do. Yeah. We didn't have one hit. You're 6'5" hitting like you're 5'2". Like, that's not going to work, dude. Like, sorry. I recruited you because you're huge and you generate
Right.
bat speed. Like,
Right.
that's what I want to see.
That's
And, his freshman year ended up being COVID, which was a nightmare, obviously, but he ended up having he had a great career. But if you looked at it, if you look at it from the 30,000 foot view of like, wow, man, like multiple all league player, all region, possible all American, I think,
Right.
like, wow, what a great career. That kid must have been good when he set foot on campus. Like, dude, he didn't have a hit his freshman year in the fall. Not one. Not in an inter squad, not in a coach pitch, not in nothing. Not machine pitch, not one hit. 0 for the fall. Literally 0 hits. And then he ends up being that. But he put in the time, he put in the effort, he put in the work. He didn't get beat down by all of the negativity. Like, he went in, he was a tough kid, which is why, part of the other reasons you know what I mean? Like, he checked all of those character boxes to where I knew, okay. But knowing the kid, if I told him right away and it didn't work, he was just going to go back to what he wanted to do. Whereas, hey man, I'll let you go over the fall for 16 days. Like, I don't care. What is it all? It doesn't matter to me. We're not playing for another 7 months anyways.
Yeah.
But I think that it's an interesting thing because Andy and I talk about it a lot on here. We talk about it with our clients and stuff too. Like, you have no concept as a high school senior what you're about to undertake to go play college baseball. And I don't care what level it is. You have no idea what you're about to go through. And it's from a pitching perspective, and we'll probably hammer a little bit more pitching because you're the pitching guy. Like, you have no concept of what that looks like. Most guys are coming from maybe 5 arms on their high school team.
Yeah.
Now you're on a staff with 14, 15, 16 guys.
Yeah.
How do I become a piece of the puzzle with these 16 guys? We're going to be playing 40 games. We're going to be traveling. By the way, you still have to go to school, and you're like, you have to make up the work. Otherwise, you're going to get bad grades. And guess what happens when you get bad grades? You ain't traveling. You ain't playing. So you have to do all of these things while also trying to maintain some semblance of a social life. All of those things happen, and it takes a while for guys to figure that stuff out. And I think that, I think Dee's right. Like, it's not, you're probably not going to play, but it's not always I'm assuming, I'm guessing at this. Like, it's not always the talent that is not going to get you on the field. It's a lot of the other stuff that you have to figure out.
I think, like, the funny part is, like, we have piles of freshmen that play for us. But right. I think that like statement overarching, the point of that is to like that's not why you go somewhere.
Right.
Like, don't do that. And 2, it's like, what you don't want is just like that kid who doesn't get any hits or whatever. It's like, you don't want someone to go someplace and jump into this experience, and when it doesn't start to go well, think that it's all over because they freak out, because that kid will freak out because he didn't get any hits in the fall, so he knows he's not going to play. And it's like,
right.
You were never going to play anyways. Just chill out. Like, just stick to the path, stay on the train, keep it moving forward. We will develop you. We'll help you get better. We'll explain what you need to do. And whether or not you put in the work and you actually get better and you do make those adjustments, which sometimes are hard, who knows? But like, if you just stay on the path, like, this will all get better. Whether or not it starts well or not, who knows?
Right.
But when you have when you're running it through the filter of like, I have to play, which is not in your control anyways. It's in your control as the head coach. It's in Deke's control. And when he makes the lineup card, so like, you're focused on stuff that doesn't even matter. Like, you have nothing to do with it. The only thing you have to do with is like, come in, work really hard, be a good teammate, do all those things, and just stay with the path. It'll take care of itself eventually. You'll get rewarded by the game at some point. Like, don't know if it'll be in your freshman year on weekend 1, or, we've had freshmen that like didn't pop up until the regional, and it's like, now all of a sudden they're in the lineup, and it's like they worked and they got better. So yeah, I think that's the overarching part of that, but it's just tough. It's tough. I think so many people get misguided, and then they're unhappy for reasons why they shouldn't even be unhappy about. Like you said, this is really tough. The fact that the kid would come in and get no hits, I've seen pitchers get bombarded with 50 ERAs in the fall, and they're really good. They're good. Yep. They just don't know how to do it yet. And
that's part of learning, right? Like, I think people want to view, like, especially families and high school students want to be like, well, I'm going to go there and I'm going to play right away. Like, let's back up. Like, let's develop into what you need to be a guy who's going to contribute to the team.
Yeah.
Very rarely, and I don't care the level, are you going to watch freshmen walk in and be the quote unquote Friday night guy.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really happen a whole hell of a lot. Like, because you might see it in some places, sure, but
yeah,
overall, like and Andy and I talk about this too. Like, we're making the outliers the rule, and that's not the case in the overwhelming majority of college baseball. That's not the rule.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to develop. You're gonna have to figure out how to get college guys out. There's a lot of things you have to do in order to be able to find your success at the collegiate level.
Yeah, most people just don't know what they don't know. So it's
I mean, there's a lot I don't know, like parenting. When you're on the road looking, or on the road, or talking about guys that you're looking to bring in from a pitching perspective, what are some of the things that you value as the pitching guy?
I think a love for the strike zones, number one, and so I'll expand on that. Like, the high school zone, the college zone are completely different. And so most guys don't understand that initially. So you can get high school stats and the guy is a 5 walk per 9 inning type of guy, numbers wise. And it's like, you're a 9 walk per inning guy, or 9 walk per 9 in a college zone, because the zone is legitimately smaller. They don't go chalk to chalk, and sometimes they do, of course, in random spots, but the zone is legitimately smaller, and then hitters don't chase as much. So especially with like high school stuff, they're not going to chase it. So where high school hitters, you're going to face 2 good hitters in a lineup, and now you're going to face 6 out of 9 that are going to be really good hitters, and the other 3 are still probably as good as the other 2 on that high school team you're facing. So now you're just facing tougher hitters consistently. And so I think a love for the strike zone for sure. If we our line is, you got to beat them over the white. And if you can't beat them over the white, then we got to get better. So we're not trying to throw chalk pitches and get people to chase all the time. You're trying to command the strike zone and win over the white. And then the other one, sorry. Give me a second. So then the other things there are, for me, it's a feel for the baseball, and that sounds weird, but for me, like, I don't mind guys having misses when I see them pitch. I just want the miss to be somewhat consistent. So, like, if a guy's arm side high all the time, and that's cool, that's fine. That's just a little visual change, and we can make that work. But my problem is a guy with like a 4-way miss, like me when I'm golfing, like cut it and draw it and do whatever. You can't play that way. Like, if you have a 1-way miss, you can play all day. You just need to make an actual adjustment, and we can work with that. So it's that. And then, you're looking for a guy with some type of outlier, something, outside of that. So if he throws strikes, he's got an ability to feel some comfort for the ball and know what he's doing. So if he says, I'm throwing a 2-seamer, he doesn't cut it, and those sorts of things. Because now when you put him on TrackMan, you can build out a repertoire, and he's got feel to make some changes and move the ball. But have a special something. You have to have a special. So it's a change up, it's a slider, it's something that he does that seems a little bit above board. You're right. Like, maybe it's his fastball and he throws to both sides of the plate and he's got really good command of it. That's a special. And then you can build off of that to get some value. Because initially, when those young guys come in, you're looking for that to feed on that one special thing while you try to build them out. And if they don't have a special, there's not much to kind of lean on early on in their career. But if we can get that early, and it's like, okay, this guy is this type of guy, he's got this, and then we'll lean into that. So I would say those are the 3 things.
Yeah, I think the strike zone piece is huge, especially in college. It is tighter. You're facing better hitters. You have to somehow figure out a way to be able to either get swing and misses or force weak contact. I think the other thing I think it's something that we all knew prior to TrackMan. I don't want to say to this degree, obviously, because we're not robots in our heads, But I think TrackMan and Rapsodo and things like that have kind of validated some of the things we thought about from a recruiting perspective when we saw guys throw. Whereas like, yo, I think that slider is that might be a little bit of an outlier pitch. Like it is swing and miss. Like he's consistent with it. He can backdoor it. He can front door it, whatever it is, right? Where now we can put it on TrackMan and be like, okay, yeah, no, that is exactly what I thought it was. Maybe more, maybe a little bit less, but it validates what it is that you're seeing with your eyes. And I think that it's key for people to also understand that from a metric perspective, it's not necessarily something that is going to ultimately always get you recruited, right? Like it's something that is a foot in the door of, hey, I can do this. And okay, like you have a really good slider, but you throw 66 miles an hour for a fastball, like probably not going to be recruitable at the college level. Or maybe you're just going to come in and spin sliders 100% of the time. I don't know. But it's something that, I think people have fallen in love with metrics on the outside a little bit more than those of us on the inside. While we appreciate them and value them, I think we view them through a far different lens than what the regular Joe Blow does from a baseball perspective. But I think that it's interesting with where we've gone and the amount of, even Division III schools that have TrackMan and are using these things to be able to develop players by using that as a tool to kind of say like, hey, this is what we like, here's what you do well, and here's what we can do in order to build our repertoire out a little bit more to make you even better from this perspective.
Yeah, I would say the best thing about it is it's shortened the feedback loop of like trying to help players like fix stuff. That's without a doubt. I think in the recruiting process, like it's great because there's certain things that are undeniable. Like if a guy leverages a breaking ball at, high 2000s spin rate, that's going to play. It's just going to play. I don't know. Now, like you said, it's not the end all be all, because if you go watch the guy pitch, and this is, how our fall ball kind of rolls with pitchers, it's funny. Like you have a guy with that, and then he's a 1-6 to the plate and he can't pick, and then it's a track meet, and you're like, hey man, you're not any closer to pitching for us than you were, a week ago. And it has nothing to do with that slider. The slider's good, but so I think it's not the end all be all for sure. It's just certain things now are kind of undeniable. It's like if certain pitches are at a certain level, certain shape, spin rate, release height, extension, and we can figure this out. But I think so many people like lean into that as the end all be all. And for us, it's like the TrackMan's rarely out for us in the spring. Just rarely is. Like we had it out today for a little touch and feel for a guy and trying to make sure certain things were right, but it's rarely out. In the fall, it's out. We get pitcher and hitter information off of it, because in the fall we do a lot of observation and we try to give a guy a plan for like the future. But in the springtime, it's like, hey, you have to be able to pitch. We have to be able to manage counts and hold a running game and figure that out. We have to be able to like play the game. So now if a guy has some certain one-off things that are happening where it's, his fastball's getting hit and it shouldn't, then we're going to go to the TrackMan and try to figure it out. And it's a helpful tool, because like you said, sometimes with your eyes, like just like if a guy was getting barreled, like that pitch isn't good. Sometimes that thing can help you, because it can, again, shorten that feedback loop. It doesn't take 2 weeks now. Maybe it can take 2 or 3 days to fix a guy's two-seam profile or something you were struggling with.
I think the interesting thing, and you beat me to it, is the fact that as you talk metrics and all this stuff, like you still have to play the game.
Yeah.
And I think that gets lost on a lot of people when you start talking about exit velos and how hard you throw and your slider and all this. Like, it's all great. It really is. But, Billy said this on our podcast, I don't know what a great exit velo is. Like, we don't play in a circus. You're hitting a moving baseball, not a ball that's just sitting on a tee that you're trying to generate as much pop as you possibly can. And I think it's interesting, especially with pitchers, because positionally we can go down a rabbit hole, but I think with pitchers, a lot of people, especially in the college game, don't necessarily realize that there's a lot of other things you have to do rather than just pitch, right? Like, yeah, you can be good in the zone, you can do this stuff, but you hit it on the head. If you're a 1-6, 1-7 and you can't field your position, it's going to be really hard to get innings at the collegiate level because it's going to be a track meet once someone gets on first base or second base. And if you can't field your position, people actually still do bunt in this game, contrary to what a lot of social media will tell you. If you're just going to throw it away, we're just going to keep doing it until you prove that you can continually get us out. And it sounds insane when I say it, but I've seen it multiple times. Yeah. And I think the flip side to it too, like especially if you're going to be a reliever, if you're pitching if you're going to be one of the guys who's going to come out and one of the first two arms out, you're going to be pitching in tight games. At least when I was still coaching 3 years ago, 50% of our games, and it's pretty much holds true across college baseball, are one-run games. You're going to find yourself in a lot of tight games. And if you can't field your position late in a game, they can't really throw you out there.
Yeah.
And if you can't control the run game once someone gets on base and you're going to be a 1-6, 1-7, again, you can't really be out there because you're giving nobody an opportunity to throw that runner out.
Yeah.
The catcher has no shot.
Yep.
What are we doing? You're going to be, even if he's a 2-0, it's a 3-7 to second base if you're a 1-7.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bases that are going to be stolen. All of a sudden, someone's in scoring position. All you need is a single and the game's, you're tied or the game's over. And I think a lot of people don't understand that aspect of what it actually takes to be a pitcher at the collegiate level, that stuff legitimately does matter. You have to be able to pick. You have to be able to control runners. You have to field your position. All of those things matter at a super high rate.
Parents, if you've ever felt overwhelmed trying to navigate youth sports, there's a new resource designed just for you, Team Match. Team Match is an online platform built to streamline how families find the right youth sports teams by location, sport, and skill level, all in one place. It also provides a safe, organized space for kids to share their accomplishments, stats, and highlights while giving coaches and teams a clear way to connect with athletes who are the right fit. Less searching, less stress, more confidence in the process. Youth sports just got simpler for families. This is Team Match. Check it out today at teammatchsports.com.
So for us, we try to look at it as like the three systems, and you're trying to decrease stress from one of those three systems. So for us, if you're a pitcher, you're trying to take stress off of the defensive system and your offensive system. So how can you do that? And thinking about it in those frames, I think helps guys sometimes, because then you start to look at like, okay, time of possession innings. Like if our offense scores some runs, get on the mound quickly, throw your warm-up pitches quickly, get after the first hitter, get back into the dugout. That way we don't have our defense sitting on the field for a long time and our offensive players not playing a long time. And then again, if you walk people, you stress your defensive system. If you hit people, you stress your defensive system. If you can't field a bunt, that's your stress on the defensive system. So those are all ways for us that we're trying to preach, like, get the ball through the plate, work quickly, do all the things that we're talking about, and maybe not frame it in just a stop throwing balls and stop hitting people. It's just like, think about your teammates a little bit. And sometimes that framework helps guys at least get through the zone more, be more aggressive, work quicker, do the things that we're not talking about that have anything to do with metrics. It's just like you're a part of a team when you're a pitcher, and you have to view yourself as that. And otherwise, you just stand out there and it is like a carnival. You're just trying to chuck it towards the plate and throw the best metrics up. And it's like, game doesn't work that way.
No. You mean yelling, throw more strikes doesn't get guys to reset?
Yeah, sure.
Throw more strikes. Stay over the rubber. Just do that. But no, it's interesting to me, like the older I get, and not to sound like an old head, but I felt like the more guys you had to teach how to play the game as they got to you when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a negative. I'm not saying it as a negative. I just felt like the older I got in coaching, the more I felt like the newer class came in having less of a feel for how to play the game. Like that was going to win you baseball games.
Yep.
And and I don't know the answer to it, but I felt that way as I was getting older.
I think you're spot on, man. It's the way that the game has grown, and again, like you said, it's not a negative because this also. It's the more you got way more guys that had a better understanding of like mechanics, a better understanding of arm care, a better understanding of metrics. They could tell you what they needed to be on TrackMan to be good. They knew. Like I didn't know what arm care was.
I was just going to say there was no arm care when you and I were in college.
I didn't have mechanics. I didn't know what those were. I didn't have a pitching coach. So, and so now you get a ton of guys that are advanced in certain parts of the game, and that's why for us when we play fall ball, we play every single day. Like our pitchers are divided up. We come out Tuesday, we play. We come out Thursday, we play. We come out Saturday, we play. And you just keeps a revolving door. We play every day because we feel like we can teach more through the game now. They know how to spin a ball and maybe do that and generate bat speed or an exit velo, but like what happens when there's a runner on second? You got to move them over, and you need to change your approach, and you need to look for something else. Or the infield gets drawn in. Like, what do you do? What are you looking for? And same thing with pitchers. It's again, like I said, the first day of fall ball this year was we put runners on first, and we told them they had 2 pitches to steal. They got to steal, and we had our catchers. We're throwing. We're getting video. We're doing pop times for our catchers. And the amount of like clean stolen bases on young guys is just incredible. They can't hold a running game. They have no ability how to vary holds and looks and everything else. They can't pick over very well. They're uncomfortable, and now they start throwing balls. And now they say it's our fault because we're stressing them out that they can't throw strikes. And I'm like, this is the game. Man, yep. The game is stressing you out. So like, this is what it feels like. So I think like those sorts of things, like learning through the game and how it's played, and when pressure starts to pop up and anxiety gets high and guys struggle with those sorts of things. But I think that's where the game has evolved. And so training the same way you used to train and go take BP and go in a cage and do drill work and things like that. Guys that's all they do. That's all they do. They go in the cage, they take drill work and they do that, but it's like they don't know how to change an approach in a game, and they don't know how to play defense in a system, and they also don't know how to pitch whenever the game kind of pushes them a little bit. So
yeah, I think it's interesting because you hit on a lot of things, but when I took over at RPI, we played whether it was coach pitch or inter squad every day.
Yeah. Because
for that reason, I felt like I could coach better given the situations and stuff. And the reality is in this game, it's hard to cover every single situation you're always going to see.
No doubt.
Like you do this long enough, you're going to see something new on a baseball field almost every time you play.
Yep.
But you can put yourself in situations where you can talk about those things. And hey, if we're in this spot, I would tell our guys we would work double cuts at RPI. It was like 295 down the right field line. So we would have a conversation. I'm like, listen, our shortstop would be like, where do I need to be? I'm like, here at home, I just need you floating. If we can't make a 295-foot throw with our right fielder and our second baseman to the plate, then I have bigger issues.
Sure.
Now, if we're somewhere else and it's 335, 340, I need you behind, trailing the second baseman to be our double cut there. But, situated but those are things that pop up that, you can't necessarily, you can't just talk about it during the course of a practice. It's something that has to happen and then be like, hey, what do I do here? Because I'm standing on first base. Our first baseman's right behind me. We have 7 people over here and no one over there. This seems not smart. Yeah, you're right. So here we're going to do this. But it's interesting because it's the game at the collegiate level speeds up so fast on younger players. And I remember when I was playing, I remember my first couple of inter squads, I was a catcher. It was so fast for me. I was like, we have pitches being delivered every 13 seconds. I got to get signs. I got to relay them. I got to know what the system is with a runner on second. My head was spinning. And eventually, like, you start to grasp it and it gets a hell of a lot slower for you. Like, you always hear the term slow the game down for yourself. Like, you can really work fast under some of those, under that pressure once you kind of start understanding what everything is. And the pitching stuff to me was just always, we would do similar stuff like, hey, just go. Like, you have within the first 2 or 3 pitches, you got to be gone. Let's see what happens. And the older guys would, and then you'd have to say, hey, talk about it, but also be like, hey, watch him. He's a senior. He's pitched on the weekends for 3 straight years. Watch how he varies his holds. He varies his looks. If you notice, he has 2 different pickoffs that he moves over there. There's a lot of different things that he's doing in order to make sure that he's slowing the game down for himself while controlling the running game, while also being able to throw strikes.
Yeah.
Well, how do I do that? Like, it's not going to happen overnight. These are things that we have to continually work on. And I think the one thing that always drove me nuts as I got older in my career was the catchers. When they get to you from a high school standpoint, like, they don't know how to run the bases because they never run the bases in high school.
Yeah.
Like, it's always like courtesy runner for the catcher, or like speed the game up, get the catcher, and then they get the first. You're like, you go around the bases. Hey, we're going to take a lead here. Take your lead. Yep. They take like a 1 foot lead. And you're like, what are you doing?
Yep.
It's like, I don't know, man. I haven't run the bases since I was like 14.
Yep.
It's like, okay, like, here is the most basic thing that we have to teach. Here we go. And again, it's not a negative. It's what they're doing at the lower levels. But like, it was like, damn, man, like, you've never run the bases?
Yeah.
Do you know how to go first to third? Like, can we just start there?
Yeah.
No. Okay. What do you know? What do you do first? I get the signs from the first base coach. Okay. Or from the third base coach. Okay. Then what do you do? I take my lead. Wrong. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Like, can you check your outfielders? Why do I look at them?
Yeah.
We have to know depth of the outfielders. We have to know where they're playing. If the ball's hit behind you down the line, this is in high school, he's not going to be standing on the line. I don't need you in your secondary turning around and looking.
Yep.
But it is like the game. The game still has to be played, and I think that it's something that I don't want to say we've gotten away from, because I don't think we have, but I think like we've put more emphasis on some of the other stuff that is not game related. And then when we get into the game stuff, we struggle for younger players. We struggle. And then it's like, it's the first time they've really struggled. And I don't think that part has changed. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, freshmen have always struggled playing college baseball. Yeah. It's not anything new. I just think that it's taking a little bit longer to get them up to speed with what it was. And maybe I have rose-colored glasses from when we played.
No, I think it's accurate. I would say I just think the quality of athlete and player that come to college is better now than it was. It just is. Like, they know more, they work out more, they're stronger. Their arms are stronger. Like, the quality of athlete is better. But the inability to the guys don't play wiffle ball as much as they used to. They don't play backyard tennis ball as much as they used to. So, like, to be in a game and to have that ability to game up and play. And like we always tell our guys, like, well, you change situational scrimmages, you change the points and the way things are awarded, or live at bats and the way things are awarded. And it's like, it's a game. Just play to win the game. Like, if the game says you get a point if you swing at a strike and you keep taking it because it's not where you want to swing, it's like, you're not playing to win the game that we're playing today. It's like, play to win the game you're playing today. Like, and so that is missing a little bit. And so we just try to feed that as much as you can. And it's like, create competitive environments, get a good environment that is trying to basically bring out the skills that you want the players to have at the end of it, and then roll the bats out and play and just go, was it good or was it bad, or did you do well? Or
did it work or did it not work? If it didn't work, we'll do something different.
Yeah. Don't overcoach it and don't try to micromanage it. It's just like, create a good environment and roll it out and see how it goes.
I think you're dead right. The athlete is better. The physicality in college baseball is way more than what it was when
Yep.
You and I played.
Yep.
I played at 215. I'm 6'2". Like I was rather big in college. Like I'm as average gets now at the collegiate level. Like it's not over the grand scheme of things. It's not that long ago, right? Like I played less than 20 years ago, so it's not like it's that long ago, But like it's gotten better, and I think from a compete standpoint, like that was one thing that we always try to do is just come up with, for lack of a better term, like stupid competition things that we could do just to get them to compete. You're dead right. No one plays. I don't want to say no one plays wiffle ball, but a lot of people don't play wiffle ball. Like we grew up playing it. We invented a game in high school. I'll never forget this. Remember those? They still have them, like those reaction balls. They have like those, like the nipples on them. Like we created a game in high school where like you played in the volleyball court and you had to roll it at each other. And if you got it past them, it was a point. If you and you played to like 10, but people just dove all over the place trying to stop the ball because you don't know where it's going to bounce.
Right.
In any way outside of your square got you a point. So like it could bounce in and right out. You get a point. Like people were just diving everywhere. But it was more so just you wanted to compete in something and go about it that way. And, I don't know. I think that I'm uber competitive, much like you are. So it's, I'll compete in anything. If you want to play Scrabble, like I'm probably going to talk smack the entire time and try to win. Like that's just what it is. But I think that lacks a little bit. And I think there is something to be said about like the travel summer ball and, that's,
I think
it's not a negative. Like we grew up in an era where you had the Legion game. Like we didn't Legion wasn't really a thing in New York, but I played with the South Troy Dodgers. Like people showed up and watched us play the Team Connecticut Baseball and the Bayside Yankees and Brooklyn Youth Service. Like, but that doesn't happen anymore. Like, you don't have the money to go watch and sit on these games and watch these. Like go watch 2 games, a doubleheader where you might get one kid off the field that could potentially get into your school, or you could go to Diamond Nation and there's 100,000 people that you can go see, and it's more cost effective.
I think that, like to what we were saying, I think the game is sort of tailored, guys. I think kids are competitive, but they're competing at what the game has designed them to compete at, which is like put up a good metric, put up a good stat sheet, like those sorts of things. So people don't play with like a hometown team and try to win like a league championship with their hometown team. So you just don't have that anymore. So like that's something that you have to like get them to buy into and create early on, is like, hey, look. And for us, we always say like the fall is for us to kind of observe and see who you are. And when we get to the spring, it's not about you anymore. It's about us. So like if whatever that means, like we're not focused on you getting yours. It's like we're trying to win as a group. So the group, the star always shines around, it rotates around and hits different guys at different times of the year. But it's not about any one guy. But I think the game is just kind of designed around guys competing for a different thing. They're not competing to win. They're competing to put up a good number. And so I think you just, the tough part is trying to bring that out in recruits once they get on campus. It's like trying to bring it out in them in a different light. Like now we're not trying to, I don't care if you hit 92 in the game or you hit 88 in the game. Like we're trying to win the game. So like, just because your velo is not exactly where you want it to be today, I don't really give a shit. I just need you to compete and pitch and get outs and hold runners and do those things. So, it's just a different type of compete.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, like, especially in our game, you never know what's going to win or lose you the game. You don't know that the error in the 5th ends up costing you the one run that puts them ahead and then you don't score the rest of the game. Sure. Or the diving play that your shortstop saves a ball on, or, saves 2 runs on and keeps the ball in the infield, and you get a huge punch out or a, pop up and a punch out, and all of a sudden you're out of the inning. It's weird that way, which I like. One of the main, like, I love baseball for that reason. There's a lot of different reasons, but
Sure.
It's one of those things like over the course of 9 innings, you never really know what it is. And it's that compete factor for 9 innings of, hey, this is what we need to do in order to win. I don't care. I was actually talking to a coach this morning. I was like, yeah, you won 1-0. Like, pretty good. He's like, 3 hits, 1 run. I was like, they don't count them. Doesn't matter how you got it. Like, what matters is you scored more runs than the other team.
That's right.
And you won. So it doesn't, like, I used to tell my guy, I'm like, I don't care if we get no hit and reach on air 9 times and get walked 9 times and score 10 runs.
That's right.
It doesn't matter to me. What
That's right.
matters to me is whether or not we win or lose.
That's right.
Ultimately what matters, because we are still playing a game.
That's right.
We still want to win. So how we get there, I don't know. I just want to make sure that we're competing for the 9, and how we do it doesn't matter to me. All right, we've spent about an hour. I don't want to keep you any longer than I have. Last question we always ask everybody: what advice would you offer families in the recruiting process if they're going through it right now?
Good luck. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I think we hit on this earlier. I think like figure out exactly what you're looking for and find the right fit, and don't sell yourself short on like going out and watching games. I think the more I've talked to families, they haven't seen any games, regardless of level, but like they just don't go watch a college baseball game. And they're happening all the time. They're way, the schedule is pretty long. So go watch a D2 game, go watch a Division I game, then go watch a good D3 game, a JUCO game, whatever. Just go see what, good teams look like. And then if you actually have a list of schools that you're interested in, like try to go watch them, or at least watch them online and see how those teams interact with each other and what the culture looks like. Cause the culture will come out. Like if you watch a game and you watch the dugout and you see how the dugout acts, because every team has a different culture and they have a different makeup. They're usually fit the head coach. And I think it's important. Like you don't want to be a kid who came from let's say a militaristic high school setting where the coach is like, wear your pants this way, wear your hat this way, get your hair cut. And then you go to this like completely bonkers college experience where, and there's really good teams that have that type of culture, but you're probably not going to you're not going to enjoy it and you're not going to fit in really well. So I think watching teams and cause you're going to spend like you said earlier, when we were talking about getting players, that you're going to spend the majority of your time around that team. Like that's going to be the majority of your college experience is going to be around those guys. And so you want to make sure that the fit is right. And if the fit's right, anything can happen. You work hard, you get in the right, frame of mind and you go about your business, you can make it work. And you can get better and you can play and you can either be, an All-American, you can be a role player, it doesn't matter, but you have a good experience. And so I think that's what I would say. If you're a family, like do your due diligence, not just in the check the price tag and check the school and make sure it's good enough to tell your friends about it, but make sure that experience is going to be good and a good fit for the player. And that's, I think, the key to this thing, finding a good fit. Because I've seen, kids that it's a good fit and they come in and they're not a really skilled player and they've excelled and they've become a lot better. And I've seen kids that do that and aren't an All-American and they're just a role player, but their experience is amazing because they're in the right program, they're in the right fit for them. They get good grades because they're happy and work. So that's my advice. Find a great fit.
I think it's great. I think the other thing that we hammer too on this podcast is to watch college baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, we're sick about it, but there's a lot of truth to it. I mean, especially in Ohio. Like, I personally think, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, I think Ohio is a super underrated baseball state when talked about baseball states overall, because I feel like every event I went there recruiting wise, there were just dudes everywhere. But there's so much good baseball being played at all levels in Ohio that I can probably imagine you could throw a dart at the map and it's not that far of a drive to go watch some good baseball being played.
Not at all. No, I mean, you're D2. You're talking like Ohio, Dominican, Walsh, Ashland, Finley. You have some good D2s. D3, it's crazy from
It's absurd.
Marietta, Baldwin Wallace, Mount Union, Worcester, us, Heidelberg, Wittenberg's been fantastic. And then D1s, you get your spatter, you get Ohio State and Cincinnati and Xavier, and you get the good MAC schools, Kent State, Toledo. Bowling Green's been great last couple of years. So yeah, from whatever level, Sinclair JUCO used to be awesome. Now you still have Tri-C, which is a good JUCO. So there's some decent JUCO too. But yeah, it's crazy. Just like you said, if you throw a needle on the map within an hour, you probably could find a pretty solid baseball game to watch.
Yeah. But I think it's worth it if you want to go play. I don't even know if it is. I would say it's worth it. I think it's necessary if you
Yes.
aspire to go play in college, you have to go watch some semblance of it.
Yes.
Like you can't just be like, well, this is what I want to do, and then have no idea what you're going to get yourself into.
I mean,
If you go buy a car, you test drive it. At the very least, you should show up and watch what this team looks like, what this program looks like. Does this level fit me? Do I think I could actually play here? Go see how physical they are, how fast it is, how these guys move. Like, I think you're going to be blown away in most cases.
I grew up right on the Marietta River, or on the Ohio River, sorry, next to Marietta. And my dad used to take me down and watch Marietta College play. It was only like 35 minutes from our house. And so that was when Don Shalley was there. They had it going, and I won't date Deeks, but that's back when he was playing, when I was a young guy. And so my dad would take me down there, and he would tell me about Marietta College and this and that. But I used to that was the games, that was the closest college to us, and that was the games I would go watch. I thought those guys were pros, like the way they played the game and how good they were. So when I got recruited in college, I was down to like between like 4 or 5 MAC schools and Marietta. And it was a legitimate choice. It wasn't like an easy decision. It was a hard decision because I just respected how good Marietta College was, right? So for me, it's like, yeah, I think when you watch teams play, just like you said, you gain a different level of respect of not just saying like, it's 1, it's 2, it's 3. There's really, really talented players at all of those levels. And depending on the program, you can go watch teams play and you're like, wow, these guys are unbelievable. But
I think the other thing, I'll pull the thread for a second at the back end of this. Like the upper levels of Division 2 and 3 are not as far off from the lower levels of Division 1 or even some of the mid-majors of Division 1 that people think of.
Not at all. No. I mean, our three guys that left in the portal last year are at Duke, Tulane, and Pitt, and got good money, and are pitching well at those 3 places. And we just we have a grad guy that's going to Virginia next year. And so it's the levels aren't that split.
No,
they're not split. There's a lot of overlap, and look, I understand depth, and I, as a guy who coached Division I baseball, and you as well, it's like you understand like the upper levels are the upper levels, and there's just a lot of levels and gravity to that situation. But yeah, there's players on a lot of those fields that can play at levels above where they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, last year, I had 2 guys transfer out. One went to San Francisco, pitched for Eric. One pitched at Delaware. Another guy was a senior sign.
Yep.
I think, honestly, and you probably feel the same way about this. Like, think about how many guys we coach at the Division III level pre-COVID and transfer portal era that probably would have jumped in and been gone.
Sure.
Because, you can, if you go, I mean, shoot, Joe Reyna was on our podcast, and I talked to Joe quite a bit. I mean, he had Nolan Sparks at his program. I mean, he was 94-96 against us in the conference tournament. Like, with a wipeout slider, and got popped in the 12th round.
Yeah.
Like, that dude was walking around for 4 years on U of R's campus. Now, he was a double major in like a neuroscience. He wanted to be a neuroscientist.
See, it's the right fit for him.
Perfect fit for him. But those dudes are walking around. I mean, and he's not the only guy that I've seen at Division III baseball that was in the mid to upper 90s.
Yeah.
There was another, Johnny Branch, I think was his name, out of RIT. who we didn't play him for like 3 years, and all of a sudden he showed up on our campus and was like 93 to 95, and I was like, where did this guy come from? He's like, oh, he's a senior. He's been here. You know, Coach Crow was like, he's been here the whole time. I was like, you played in 3 years.
The
stocking these guys back there.
The Lotus kid from Wash U was, I think it was like 2018 regional. He was on like 2 days rest, and now I think he pitched for the Cardinals now. I can't remember exactly where he is. He's in the big leagues, and they had Caleb Durbin was their shortstop, by the way. It was a fun regional, and he was their shortstop, and then Lotus was their number one, and he was like 93 to 96 or something like that, and then maybe touched 97 or something. And I remember we got him on like 2 days rest in the regional final. And I told Diggs he was warming up, and I was like, he's on 2 days rest. He's probably going to be like 1 to 3 or something. His first warm up pitch was like 94, and I was like, we are toast. We have no chance. Yeah. So I mean, there's some really special players playing at all those levels. Doesn't matter.
My point in all of it, and our point, I should say, in all of it, is go watch college baseball and understand that the levels are not nearly as cut and dry from a 1, 2, 3 standpoint as what you're led to believe at most of your life. Well, Ryan, I appreciate you joining us tonight. I had a blast doing this. Good luck the rest of the way. I know you guys still have a conference tournament this weekend. We'll be watching from afar. And I'm rooting for you guys this year. I hope hope you knock it dead.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
No problem. Thanks to everybody for listening. Talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening this week. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and smash that like button for us. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at EMD Baseball. If you want to find out what me and Keith do to help families and players navigate the recruiting process, go ahead and check us out on emdbaseball.com. Take a few minutes to check out our new online academy. I promise you'll get some good information out of that. Thanks again for listening. Check in with you next week.